A very good afternoon to all of you, and it's nice to see Mr. Selvarajan who presented the last session on bird watching. Then Jyotirmoy Chaudhary, he is our coordinator for the travel series. He writes all the mails that go out to the speakers. And Mr. Hirak Kar, Brigadier Hirak Kar, he is back after a long break. So he presented a session for us, and he has actually even written a book on his experiences. The name of the book is Riding Pillion, and maybe the editor of that book, who edited the book, she might also join us.
Tell me what to do.
So today is actually like the 14th session that we are hosting for the travel series, which we call Break Free. So it's like a break from work. We just want to set ourselves free. So that's how we named it. And today I would say it seems to be a lucky day because we have one more presenter joining us. So
In fact, we are getting another presenter joining.
yeah, Dhruv Bogra.
Yeah.
When I posted the poster for this session, immediately he had responded, I want to join this.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, Dhruv, welcome. So Dhruv also, he has written two books. His first book was like edited by Jyotirmoy Chaudhary, who is here, and it was
Hi,
about his
Jyotirmoy.
journey. It was about his
Hi,
journey
Dhruv.
on a bicycle, 400 days on a bicycle from the Arctic to the Andes. And the
Wow.
second book that he wrote during the lockdown, that is titled Away, and it was about his journey in India in the Himalayas. So we will be having another session with him next month, 4th of April.
Hello.
And just to remind the participants, our presenter for today is Nishtha Shukla Anand. She is based in Solan in Himachal Pradesh. And when I had posted the links and the posters for our series, she said, like, I wish Himachal Pradesh will get more footage. So I asked her, okay, you are welcome to present it as you wish and share your experience. And she accepted, and today we are with her. So Nishtha, over to you. You can give your introduction and then you can start with the presentation.
Hi everyone. I mean, such an
Hi.
amazing company. Now I'm a little worried. What am I going to say? But like I said, that it's lovely to have these conversations. So I'm so glad, and thank you so much, Vivek, for the opportunity. So when I saw the series that Vivek was doing, it was very interesting because I'm a Delhi girl. I lived in Delhi and Mumbai and Bangalore, while I was a young cub reporter. So when I shifted to Himachal because I got married, it was a very stark change. And when once I reached there, I realized that there is so much wealth that India has to offer, and because of the stark difference that my experience and my life journey brings, it was very interesting for me to see the way outsiders see Himachal or even Punjab for that matter, because I partially live in Chandigarh, and the stereotyping that people do for Punjabis was also very interesting to me. So it's probably going to be my PhD topic for PhD. But I took on this challenge during the lockdown, especially because the Chief Minister of Himachal, he had locked the state pretty much before everybody else did. Even before the country went into a lockdown, we were closed. The borders were closed. People weren't allowed to come in. That was happening. And that kept Himachal very, very safe. That kept, it was almost like, they've made a little island of their own, and they were kind of safeguarding the people of the state, because it is a small state. It's a large state in terms of the area, but in terms of the populated areas, it's very small, it's tiny. So that kept people very safe. And as soon as the unlock started, and which also the government delayed for quite some extent, as soon as the unlock happened, people in droves they raced to Himachal, because it is a beautiful state. The weather was lovely at the time. This was, I think, in May, so people really wanted to escape, and they had been in lockdowns. They found it an easy escape. Whether it is from Punjab or from Delhi. There were people who were just racing to Himachal. And in the last 3 months, unfortunately, the numbers have just surpassed. They've surpassed all past numbers in terms of the number of cases we've had, the number of unfortunate incidents we've had. So I mean, just to highlight the kind of effect tourism has on Himachal, which is not to say that we don't want people coming in, but it just to just for all of us to know that at the end of the day, it's a place where people actually stay. It's their home. It's where they find their peace, their comfort, and their security. And that sometimes gets lost in the whole craze about being in Himachal. So that is where I am coming from, because people don't seem to know so much about Himachal. And I thought that I'm going to do a series, and probably now after all of you, I'm very encouraged to really jot down my book. Probably the first book that I will write will be on travel, which I never thought, but maybe it could be, because there's a lot about Himachal that people still don't know. So with that, I'll just quickly share my screen, and just some images that I want to show to give you a sense of what I'm talking about, to just give you a real picture. I've just very inefficiently called it "How Can You Help the Himalayas?" But it's really just to have conversations about how to protect our own ecosystems wherever we are. So this is my home. This is right outside my house in Solan. It's a place where my kids have studied. My parents, my in-laws are there, so they're old. They have to tread these paths every time they walk out of the house, and it's essentially a place where we stay. This is our home, which people forget. So why am I showing you this? And it can't be that bad. You would think I mean, if you lived in a Delhi or a Bombay, I'm sure you've not seen this outside your home. Even if you have, they'll be in these massive structures, and you do get a truck that carries it all every day. But that doesn't happen in Himachal. Unfortunately, the systems are not in place. The municipality is not as progressive. They're not well equipped. So the garbage that comes to the state tends to stay within the state. And now, why am I talking about this? Is you would think that this is a city and it's a city garbage, but it's actually not, because this is right outside the. This is the railway station that we have in Solan. This is right out to my house. Himachal doesn't have the kind of lavish area that most of the plains have, because it's vertical. The whole state is vertical. So everything is structured in a very vertical fashion. So things are very close by. So this is not even 500 meters from my house. Between my house and this place is that garbage. There's that dump of a garbage that people have just littered. And so how many trains do we see in a day? We see, in the summertime, probably 8. In winter times, probably 3 trains that pass by. And these are toy trains. These are not your regular trains. This is the UNESCO World Heritage Site that I'm referring to. And it's not too many trains, and that's the garbage that's left behind. So it's a thing that you want to consider, I mean, not just in terms of what we are doing to Himachal, but also to the country, because this is a World Heritage Site. It's a UNESCO approved site, and it runs across Himachal. So why are we doing this? I mean, and that is what I wanted to bring to light, that even when we throw that one piece of garbage, it's very important to consider that Himachal is a state where there are not too many empty spaces. That's number one. The second thing is that there are not too many facilities because of the way the state is. It's not a metropolitan. It's not a very organized state in some ways, which is unfortunate. And I'm sure the government is they are taking these small steps which are helping us. But a lot is because of the tourism that comes into the state, and that's where I would like to highlight that even when people come to Himachal, they and I just think about it. I mean, if you go to any other part, if you've been to Europe, and I'm sure those who have written books about their journeys across countries, you would have seen that it's not something that we do when we're traveling abroad. It's only something that we do when we are in our own country. And I know it's said a lot, it's spoken about a lot, but I think it still needs to be said a lot more than we are right now. And I would encourage all of you, if anybody who travels to Himachal, please educate them about the litter that we do without even thinking about it. I was watching the statistics about a family of four or a family of five traveling to Himachal. Each of them will consume at least one bottle of water a day. And if they're there for 4 days, they're going to consume 16 bottles. That's a lot of plastic. That's a lot of plastic for one city, one item to leave. And that is why we encourage people to be a little more cautious of what they do, how they consume things. Plastic is completely banned in the state. However, you see this garbage. So this is all plastic that is coming from outside of the state, because Himachal doesn't allow you to use any plastic. Even the most basic, grocer or the most basic chemist will not give you a plastic bag. So yeah, this is right outside my house, so you will know. And and this is in the heart of Solan city, which is one of the biggest districts. So it's one of the most highly populated, but also the most advanced city in the state. And that is where we are. So the rest of the state suffers even more. This is the other thing that I wanted to highlight about traveling to Himachal. We have a very short summer. At least we have a very short summer break. It's about 2 months long. And it's almost like mandated for people to travel to Himachal. And this is a very regular sight that we see when it's summertime. If you just see these shops and on the side there is this little pathway that's going up. They're going to colonies, and this is most likely. So this is not a picture that I'm very familiar where it is, but I'm assuming it's somewhere near Parvanu or beyond. And again, this is where people stay. This is a place where people stay. This is, just imagine I have an emergency and I want to step out, just take my father to the doctor, and I'm stuck because of this massive jam. And it's not only that people are organized, but they're also going all over the place, because one, we see a lot of drunk driving. Two, we see a lot of people who just park on the road or park on the sides and litter and create noise. The kind of noise pollution that we have in the state is appalling. It's just surprising the way the honking and the music and the noises that you see, and it's a very quiet state. So again, this is another thing about Himachal, that more and more people need to know that it's a place you want to go for peace and quiet. So let's be quiet, right? People need to be a little more conscious of the way they treat the hills. It's also a land of the gods for our country. And I think that is also something that we need to consider at least. Let's at least start giving it a thought, right? So this is another thing. It's not. So my next thought was, I'm not discouraging you to come to Himachal Pradesh. Please don't get me wrong. That is not the idea at all. The idea is only to help you understand how can we treat the state a little better, and how can we make sure that the locals there are not disconcerted, because there's a lot of indigenous art, there's a lot of indigenous agriculture, there's a lot of culture that is very, very authentic and very lovely in Himachal is a massive state. And in for some reason, one people want to go to those very typical places, your Kasol and your Kasoli and your Shimla. But there is a lot more. There's a lot more to Himachal Pradesh than what you have just come to know. I'll be happy to share some more options of where you can travel. So, I'll probably share it with Vivek and he can send it to all of you. There are lovely places that you can explore. So please do visit Himachal. The only thing is that we need to be a little more conscious of what we do when we're in the state. Because it is very difficult, one, to clean the Himalayas. The Himalayas are at some points dense, but they're getting thinner. Like I was telling Vivek that Solan used to see a lot of snow 20 years back. They used to actually see 20 inches of snow 25 years back. But that doesn't happen anymore. It's not even an inch. It's in the last 12 years that I have been there, 14 years that I have been there. I think this is the first time that I saw heavy snow in Solan. And that's something that we all need to consider. I mean, we all know that the climate in general has really suffered. And I mean, so have a Delhi or a Bombay. However, the Himachal are our pride. I think the Himalayas really do bring pride to every Indian, whenever, I'm sure, I mean, all of you must have spoken at international forums, and every time the Himalayas come into focus, people are interested, people want to know more. People want to help. The amount of support I receive from organizations outside of India is absolutely amazing, and so the Himalayas are a matter of pride for all of us. And I would just encourage all of you to be more conscious of what you do while you're in Himachal Pradesh. And I'm not the expert, so I have this little clip from somebody called Pradeep Sangwan. He runs a beautiful organization called Healing the Himalayas. And what he does is that he works with local volunteers to clean up the garbage that people leave behind. So I'd like to just play this little clip. Let me know if you are not able to see it. I'll just stop my screen and share this link instead. Just give me 1 second. Are you able to see my screen, Vivek?
Yes, yes, I think the video is loading.
Yeah.
Bye. while going for a trek, when you eat Maggie, please ask the empty Maggie packet from the Daba wala guy, so that you can easily take it back to the city and dispose it. But they can't really do that, because eventually it will end up in a landfill, or they'll burn it, or eventually in a river body. So basically, these are small things, but very effective. Hi guys, I'm Pradeep Sagwan, and what I do and my organization do is we track and clean for a purpose. And the beautiful organization is called Healing Himalaya Foundation, where we invite volunteers from all across the globe and also engage local communities. They come out and participate with us, and then we eventually track and clean. So for us, social media has been a very powerful tool, and most of our volunteers come and join us via social media. We promote our work through social media, and for the same, we make a small calendar for ourselves, half-yearly calendar from March till mid-June or end of June, and in which people can volunteer. And then there's another calendar that we make for post-monsoon. So these are two calendars that we make through which volunteers can participate. They can align their traveling processes or trekking processes accordingly. For the last 5 years, I've been promoting trekking for a purpose. Earlier, I was a roamer, wanderer. I didn't know what to do exactly other than trekking. And then seeing the plastic pollution all around, all across the Himalayas, Trans-Himalayas, Lower Himalayas. Then I thought of this project called Healing Himalayas, and then nothing else I could do right now, because most of my time and energy is consumed to protect our beautiful Himalayas. So usually while going up for a trek, we collect all the trash. Mainly we find plastic bottles, MLP, multi-layered packaging, plastic waste. And then on the way we pick it up, store it at one location along the route, and while coming back we bring it back to the base village, and from there we transport it to the nearest facility. In the process we engage mainly our volunteers. Currently we are focusing on Khirganga trek route, and another is Shrikhand Mahadev. There are a couple of other small city treks or hikings which are very famous, so that's where we also go. And yes, so collected waste we transport it to the nearest facility. But this year onwards we started a new project in which we started building these small scale waste collection centers, or in technical language you can call them material recovery facilities. So the first waste collection center that we are building is coming up in Kinnor. It's a small village called Raksham, and we were hoping to build 3 of these waste collection centers, but because of COVID and this uncertain times, we had to delay our projects. And so next year we're going to build another 2. So the significance of these MRFs or waste collection centers is that we don't need to really transport our waste immediately. We have a place to store our waste and eventually add it to the value chain. Now we are moving on to some projects such as making or building these waste collection centers. For that, we need to identify land or a location which is suitable for all the villages nearby. So that is one of the most difficult processes. And yeah, so we are kind of getting successful at it also. But yeah, it's very challenging to first build a waste collection center, and before that finding a land, and then eventually engaging local communities and educate them to segregate their waste. So the whole process is difficult. So it has to be done step by step. So initially it was, getting volunteers for the work that I was doing. Initially it was very difficult for me to, find like-minded people or warriors, I would say, who can come and participate, in the Himalayas and do the noble cause. It was difficult initially, but with continuous efforts, people started joining by the end of 2017. From 1 to 10, then 20, and then 25. Now we don't take more than 25 volunteers. So this is the whole ideology behind Healing Himalayas, that once you come to us, you learn a lot and then go back and apply that in your life. We must focus on these alternatives, especially removing single-use plastic cutlery, plastic bottle, plastic straw, simple things, but very effective. Because most of the time when we find any sort of garbage, that's mainly single-use plastic. While trekking, you can always carry your own bottles. You can refill the water from anywhere. There are bottles with filters inside it, so you don't have to worry about what the source is. Because for outsiders, the Himalayan water is maybe a bit heavy, so they can't really digest it. But these bottles will help you. So I think you don't really need to come down and participate with us all the time. There are so many activities that you can do in your surroundings. There are so many things that you can just do it just by changing your lifestyle or habits. You can make so much of difference. And yes, if you want to participate, you're more than welcome. You come and learn and see the conditions of the Himalayas, where you least expect the garbage, and you'll find it there. There's a saying in the mountains that just follow the plastic and you'll reach your destination. It's a very sad saying, by the way. So we don't want our hills or our track routes to become like that. So I think first you learn, educate yourself, adapt to those habits, and then eventually teach others also. Because once you know that what kind of impact your small and simple habit can do, you can always teach others also. That's also very important, because it is always better to share. So yeah, this is a very simple message. Wherever you are, try and utilize our resources meaningfully. And when you come down to the mountains, please travel and trek purposefully.
So I hope that was helpful. Like he said, it's not only about not traveling, but it's more just a little bit of understanding of what can harm the Himalayas. Just a small a reusable bottle that you carry from home, or a reusable bag that you can possibly carry. I know people who travel with their own picnic baskets, where they have their own cutlery, they have their own boxes. So even if they're doing a takeaway from their hotel, so to say, travel from one part to the other, they pack it in their own boxes and carry it with them. So the idea is to reuse as much as you can, and do educate as well. Because the more we educate, it'll just create a ripple effect.
These are the customers you've been looking for. And when you market on LinkedIn, you reach them in the frame.
So the more we talk about it, the more awareness we are able to create. And I think this is pretty much the kind of crowdsourcing that I would like to see India do towards the Himalayas. And people like Pradeep, and so he also works with. So I'm so sorry I didn't introduce myself so well. I am. I'm actually a journalist by profession, and then I launched my own editorial agency in 2010 called Pen Pandit Media. 2007, when I left for Himachal. In the last 5 years, I've been working on my own technology blog called techthirsty.com. But I'm also a promoter of and director at Shulini University, which is in Solin. So Shulini University, because the ethics that all of us have in the board, we have made sure that it is one of the cleanest campuses of India. I mean, if any of you come, we'll be happy to take you around. It's clean. We make sure we have dustbins at all places in the campus. But the more important thing is that it's had a trickle down effect on our students, because I don't litter the garbage. I don't litter. If I drop anything, I make sure that I pick it up. So it's a trickle down effect, right from the chancellor down to the peon who's offering us tea. So it's something that Indians as a whole need to start thinking about, and we need to start educating ourselves that if we can do it in another country, we can also do it in our country. It's not so tough, and that is where I'm coming up to. I think I told Vivek that I'd also discussed. I would also like to discuss why are the Himalayas important for us. But I'd really like to do that as a more interactive session than like presenting a PPT, because it's more about ideas and thoughts. And if you have any questions, I'll be absolutely happy to take them on as well.
Yeah, I would ask Dhruv to maybe respond to the session, because he has been cycling in the Himalayas. What is his take on this topic?
Hi. Thanks, Vivek. Mister, that was a nice, I think, a wake-up call for many people.
Thank you.
My association with the mountains is also a bit like yours. I was born in Simla. My parents fell in love in Simla, and I was a byproduct of that. Uh, my father's been in the army, so we have a home in Ranikhet as well. And I've cycled quite a bit in the Himalayas. Could do more, but quite a bit. My observations in the last 2 years are that the I think it's a collapse of civic management. Uh, I mean, leaving the tourist piece aside for a second, I think it's a collapse of the entire civic infrastructure. I've cycled, so I cycle slowly. I observe things. The only thing I don't do is take pictures of people committing crimes, like municipalities with proper dumpster trucks dumping garbage in the river near Kangra, or cycling past Kothkai to further up the mountain and seeing all the Modi dustbins, all the oranges and green dustbins along the highway, all lying empty with the garbage on the hillside just behind them, which is so ironical. Uh, I thought I would take a picture of it and send it to someone, but I thought otherwise. I think it's better. I learned that from Jyotirmaya to be a bit more careful about my opinions.
Is it?
Which are, but yes, I think it's a vast civic mismanagement, and I don't just blame the tourists. I blame the police. I blame civic officials for not. I mean, they've introduced paper over plastic so efficiently. Why can they not start checking cars for plastic bottles? Collect all plastic bottles at the border. That's it. If you can check people for COVID, you can check people for plastic. And once the behavior sets in, people will stop carrying plastic into the mountains. They'll collect glass bottles and carry them. You know. So Indians do tend to comply quite well, provided there is some strictness and there is some harsh laws around it, uh, and maybe you can use the tolling booths on the way to check the cars and have a fine if you're carrying plastic inside the border. I remember a time 10 years back when vehicles used to be checked for the pollution sticker in Uttarakhand. Now nobody checks. So of course maybe because all cars have moved to BS6 and BS5, but at the end of the day, these things can be done. It's just a political will that is lacking, and I also blame the urban locals. I use the word carefully because they are just
Yeah.
completely indifferent. You know,
Yeah.
I was in Old Manali in the month of December, and I was just walking along the snow along the river Bias, and I almost sat on a broken glass bottle, beer bottle. It's just lying buried below the snow, and I could have injured myself so grievously that time that it's not funny. But just 2 inches below the snow of a broken glass bottle, so it's extremely dangerous. You know
Yeah.
but I don't see people talking about it. And good citizens like you, I've also mentioned some of it in my book. When I wrote my Arctic to Andes book, I was very, very critical of India, and I had to remove some sections because they were found to be too aggressive and anti-India in that sense. But I noticed one correlationship between lack of education, poverty, and economic development, and pollution, that is land pollution. So, the more economically depressed the society was, the more polluted the environment was. So, I think it's more to do with education and civic sense. So, for example, as you move from Mexico, which is also quite badly littered on the highways in some sections, when you move to Guatemala, it's really bad. When you move to El Salvador, it's unimaginable. And then suddenly, when you go to Costa Rica, it's clean. So, and then Peru is extremely clean. At same, I mean, the sense that these are not companies more richer than India. I mean, their GDP is far lower, but somehow the people, because they're more educated and the populations are possibly more manageable, they've been able to sort of inculcate these good habits in people. I mean, it goes without saying, on the American West Coast, there's $1,000 fine for littering, and you see the sign posts everywhere. $1,000 is 75,000 rupees. So even for an American, the $1,000 is 50% of his monthly income. How they enforce it, I don't know, but the signs are everywhere. Okay, I never saw anyone getting pulled over for littering, but I mean, I remember there were times when I used to drop a wrapper from my chocolate on the road, and suddenly used to get swept away by the wind, and I used to get on my cycle and go running after to pick it up. So, I mean, that kind of cautiousness needs to be there, and that is just not there. Very sad. And today, I'm actually in Rishikesh, and I'm coming here after many years, and I'm really surprised to see the level of cleanliness. I mean, Haridwar looks spotlessly clean. The Kumbh Mela is next week, or I think 2 weeks from now, and it's just incredible how clean the roads are, how clean the ghats are, how clean the Ganges is looking from here. So it's possible, but there has to be political will. And sadly enough, I think the Himachal government, the Uttarakhand government have no political will to solve the problem. They just got overwhelmed by it. And it's one thing for tourists, but tourists can be disciplined for sure. They can be. I have seen that.
No, absolutely. I mean, I do agree that there's a lot of political will required, and yes, the citizens also need to play their bit, and so that does happen. I know for a fact because I have experimented with that in my own, society. We don't really have societies, but the area that I live in, and there's a lot of apprehension around, just the plain simple fact of having one single dumping yard where the authorities can just simply come and take the garbage. But that's a lot to do with the kind of culture they've been living with. I think everyone there is very comfortable with the idea of dumping it in the next stream next to their house. I mean, and again, I do know that people actually do use the streams as dumping ground, which is extremely unfortunate. And definitely, I mean, as locals, we also do try to make that effort. There are a lot of societies that are working towards it, but there is so much that needs to be done. And I think that's where people like people like you who talk about it is so very important for Himachal. Coming to your thought on, I pretty much agree with everything you said, except the bit about
Yeah,
education.
it's
Yeah,
yeah. I think it's just see, citizens. We are such a largely populated country in
yeah,
Nishta, that it's impossible to control the behavior of so many people. The only thing that will control are laws and implementation of laws. And a lot of kids nowadays are very particular. I've seen kids, not littering from a car,
yeah,
but I still see people taking out bottles from the car while they're driving. It's very sad. It happens in Delhi also.
yeah.
Uh, it's
The
it's just that it can be controlled. I think it can be controlled if a very strong message goes out.
uh,
And unfortunately, the governments are not doing anything about it.
for
They are
instance,
the ones who can save the Himalayas. You know.
no, actually, they did implement a fine, but that didn't seem to help, which was very interesting. That's a study in itself. Why a fine did not discourage people from littering. There was a fine against littering on the highways, but that did not seem to help, and they finally withdrew it. I've not even seen a
Yeah,
speed.
I think the locals need to become activists, local activists, like a local citizen activist system, where if you see a dumpster dumping garbage, or where was I the other day? I was again in Kangra itself. I found I forget the name of the town. It was above
But
Palampur at the back, okay, and
when-
the entire garbage of Palampur comes to this place, which do not even have a wall or
yes,
enclosure to put the garbage in. It just goes and sits there.
yes,
You know, it just goes and sits there, and they're not even bothering to create an enclosure for it. Have a recycling thing going on for it. Nothing. So the problem is, it's not considered a problem by the government itself. So
yeah,
the citizens, the government is a reflection of the citizens.
absolutely,
So someone has to take charge, and just a few people who are a minority like us, we can make a small difference in the islands of influence we have.
yeah,
But the larger mass of the problem is too much beyond our control.
yeah,
Unless it becomes a solid local activist movement where shopkeepers tell people, listen, pick up the bottle, just throw it, take it back with you in the car, to the point of being hostile. They have to be like that. There is a, there are, there was a church I went to in Mexico where you're not allowed to take a photograph because they follow ancient Maya rituals along with Christianity.
mm,
So there are a lot of American tourists who still, try to snub these people and try to take pictures. The locals smash the cameras inside the church. They just snatch the camera away and smash it against the floor. That's it. That is how they enforce their will on tourists who come and spoil the land. And that is the kind of fervor that locals need to exercise. The locals of Solan, the locals of Simla, the locals of Kothkai, they need to be absolutely vocal and angry with tourists who try to litter the land.
It won't be so easy. I think Himachal is a very soft state. If I'm not putting my foot in my mouth, but it is a softer state. People are a little more cautious of how they treat their tourists, because pretty much it is the second biggest industry of the state. But they do make those efforts. I know for a fact that the shopkeepers in Himachal never ever allow anybody to use plastic. That's completely banned. You will not see any shopkeeper, small or big, hoard them, allow people to use them. So people are conscious, but there is a lot that happens because of the lack of awareness that the tourists bring, because there are just that many areas that tourists are traveling to, right? And that is where we're seeing more of a trouble, and that's the cause of concern. If you go to any of the interiors, so if you go to Kotkai or something, you will not see that kind of the kind of littering that I had just shown in my picture. So
Kothkai is very bad. Dista is very bad. Trust me. I mean, it's everywhere, even non-tourist areas. It's
no, it is.
moment to enter a small hamlet. It's really bad everywhere. I'm not trying to argue here. I'm just trying to just put my point of view across that as an observer on a bicycle, I see a lot, and it's there in the smallest of towns and villages also. Maybe the scale of it varies from place to place,
Yeah,
but it's really bad.
that
It's not just tourist places.
bad. And I know for a fact, I mean, there is absolutely there is no civil culture, there is no process for the government to take care of the garbage. So, I mean, without a doubt, the government has a big role to play in it, and they are clearly not playing that role. And that is why people like us have to do what we have to do. We have to start talking about it. I mean, every year with that I'm talking about, we, our students volunteer. They go. They are some of his favorite warriors, and they go down pretty much. I think every quarter they do at least one visit to the neighboring river or the hotspots, as they call it, where they know that people go and dump. So a lot of efforts are also being done, but there's, like you said, there's just so much more that needs to be done. It's
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe true.
yeah, there's a lot to be done, and we're trying to make our efforts. We're trying to have aware, make people, more and more people aware of what we do. Yeah.
Mr. Selvarajan, like he presented our last session, he also runs an NGO by the name of Green Circle. So, Mr. Selvarajan, like what have been your experience or what campaigns have you run to tackle this issue?
Yeah, I just would like to say that this is a universal problem in the entire country, this plastic pollution, and we in Green Circle every Saturday we are doing Saturday Shramdan to remove the plastic. What we used to do is to wear the green t-shirts, and all our volunteers, like your volunteers, you quoted some volunteers. We used to go into the parks and public places and pick up the plastics, and this is the kind of awareness which we are creating, and we know that this is not going to create a very big impact, but at least in Dwarka, I'm living right now in Delhi, there we are able to make a small dent into the mindsets of the people. But I think that this is not the only duty of the government, I feel. We always blame MCD for that, but my experience is that when I was working with MCD, I found that definitely some of the lower level workers, they will bring that, we don't go to the top level, to deputy commissioner of municipalities and all those things. We go to the local people who are handling the garbages at that particular place. So we used to talk to them, we used to convince them, take a photograph, take selfie and all those things. And they are very much, their morale is boosted, and they used to come, and every Saturday they used to come and pick up all the plastics which we are picking up from the, parks and public areas. Now due to COVID-19 we are a little bit slow, but every Saturday Shramdan has been very popular here. Even in our Guru Gobind IP University is here. The Vice Chancellor once quoted in his speech that citizens in Dwarka are doing this cleaning work. I just wanted to share with you. But when you started your presentation, I was looking for some more aspects of environment in Himalayas, because not only Himachal Pradesh but almost the entire range of Himalayas is in trouble. And recently we have seen that glacier burst and all those things, what happened, the big calamities and all those things. I feel I don't have much idea about the other places, but Himachal, Manali, Kulu, and this Shimla, and Kasauli, all these places I have gone there for birding. So I must be able to tell you something what I felt. Basically, we the Delhiites are all going for just tourism, noise pollution, everything we do it. Whenever we are going, we make our speakers much. Not only, I'm not talking about myself only, that it's a habit of the tourists who are coming to Himalayas. But without knowing that Himalayas is being disturbed, the peace and tranquility which is there in Himalayas is being, disturbed a lot. But the pollution, plastic pollution is one thing. Carbon footprints are increased because of this. I definitely agree with you. But there are much more problems about the climate change and other things which has to be highlighted. As far as the tourists are concerned, I feel that we must have stringent laws to stop this particular, carrying of plastics and all those things. We have to do them, and we have to make them penalized. Rather, you people, NGOs, have to take some of the initiatives to stop this one. I just would like to recall one of my trips which I had been to Srinagar once, in 1980s, before the problems cropped up. At that time, my kid was a small kid, only 4-year old, and just he's a very big man now. Now he's about 40. And in those days when we were going there, he wanted to answer the first call of nature. So we were standing near Dal, and we citizens, what we do immediately, come on, do it here. So that Shikara, that boat driver, that boatwala jo hai, whatever he is, this guy came and he has pushed him, took him to the next side of the street, and he asked him to go into the washroom. The awareness which was there in 35, 40 years back in the Srinagar, boat people, I was amazed at that time. The environment was not much improved topic in those days. But this kind of awareness must be created only by people like you and your team. And you need to work much, and you should not allow the people, when they are coming at the toll, you must stop these people, tourists, and make some, things, come on, plunge into the action. That's what I would like to say. This is my views. We need to do it. We need to take charge. There is no, waiting for any government to do this. Government, they will do as in their own. We are seen from independence.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Those are lovely thoughts. Actually, the bigger environmental concerns that you're talking about, that's more towards the Garhwal region, the burst, and so they have a lot of hot springs which also generate a lot of carbon dioxide. So it's more towards the Garhwal region, and also it has a lot to do with the green cover. So that's a whole discussion in itself, because only if we increase our green cover, we'll be able to tackle those environmental issues. As of today, we wanted to talk about what can you and I do to improve the situation.
It seems our enemy is no one but plastic. But tell me one thing, is plastic the real enemy? It is because of plastic, we've got these plastic chairs, tables, and whole lot of things, and that is what has reduced the cutting of trees. We've saved a lot on timber, on trees. So is plastic the real enemy? Or is it we who are not being able to use and reuse plastic? If we can reuse the plastic that you're producing, that all of us, all of you have been saying about plastic bottles, plastic this, plastic that. Why don't you have a procedure to use it, reuse it? That is one. Second thing, I've been in the army. 2 years I was in Leh, whole of Ladakh, Kargil, Siachen Glacier and all. It is not only the tourists who dirty the place. And the people who are the tourists who are generally quite educated, and you don't have to educate them to keep the place clean. But if a place is dirty, then you dirty the place further. Have you ever seen a man, I'm not saying a lady, have you seen a man urinating on a clean wall? He will always look for a place which is dirty. And when he goes to a place which is dirty, he feels like urinating and zips down. So if the two things, one is we've got to find a way, or someone has got to find a way as to how to reuse the plastic which we are always cursing. And it has been a great boon in the last 5-6 decades in our life. Second thing is that we should not blame tourists. We should clear the area so that the area is clean enough for tourists not to dirty. The third thing is that garbage collection is one aspect. That means you provide garbage containers to remove garbage. But the destruction of that garbage is very, very important. I'm also an auditor of castor fields and tea gardens and things like that. The disposal of the garbage, no one bothers. They just dump it in one cutting and leave it there. From there, it becomes a waste and creates more confusion. Our government, our organizations should do something to do the destruction of this terminal waste. I'm from Calcutta. I'm speaking from Calcutta. Do you know, just about 4 or 5 kilometers from my house, I stay in quite a good residential area near Ruby Hospital. But just about 3 to 5 kilometers from my house is a field known as Dhapar Mart, means Dhapa field, where 24 hours, all Calcutta garbage for years and in the last many decades have been dumped over there. There's a huge hill of garbage. And 24 hours there's a fire over there inside the garbage, emitting methane, and the government or no one can stop it. And at night, you can smell the garbage getting burnt and the methane coming out. 5-star hotels like ITC and all are just about 2-3 kilometers from this garbage dump. So this thing is locating the garbage, destroying the garbage is important. Next step is providing containers so that people can put you walk down the Calcutta roads, if you want to throw a piece of paper into something, there is no dustbin where you can throw it. So you have to have a dustbin to throw it. Don't blame people. Provide the dustbin to throw it and provide people to clean that dustbin. If you don't clean that dustbin, as the dustbin overflows, I'm saying for all towns, cities, small or big, that is how it would be. So it is a system which is not okay. System starting off from cursing plastic, system where you don't have a place where to collect and destroy the garbage, system where you don't have a method to carry the garbage. When we go abroad, we find the place very nice and clean, and we also suddenly become very disciplined. We don't require to be penalized. We don't require people to check our cars. No, we will also be disciplined, provided the place we go to is clean. You come to my house, if my house is very clean, you won't dirty my house. But if you find my house dirty and all my children are throwing off everything, your children will also do the same thing. Sorry, probably I had gone off in a tangent, but that is what I feel about cleanliness
No, it's very
in our country and the Himalayas, because I have stayed 2 years in Himalayas and in Ladakh. As Mr. Vivek Kumar will know, got a I've got a world record for sailing in the highest altitude in the Somorari Lake, and it's in the Limca Book of Records. So I've traveled extensively in that area, and I have seen the villages. They're clean.
The villages tend to be a
They're
lot
clean. And the tourists who go there are also clean. I mean, I'm talking 30 years ago. I was there in 90s.
not the case today, but
Yeah. They are also clean, but then you've got to provide them the wherewithal to keep it. People have cars. People will go for tourism over there. If you don't have a place to park the cars, what do? You park it on the roadside. Simple. Sorry, thank you.
Thanks, Brigadier Carr. So all of our ex-presenters have pitched in and shared their views. Santani Ghosh from Pune, do you want to say something?
Hi, Vivek, sir. Hi, Nishtha. Good evening. I joined in pretty late. I'm so sorry. But I have one thing we these days speak about and discuss about a lot about environmental cleanliness, the effect of plastic products and stuff. I have a feeling that it works as a domino effect. Why I would say it works as a domino effect, because now, as Brigadier Kaur was talking about cleanliness of the area, where will the people park their cars, or how about the landfill or things like that? Where will people dump the garbage, and how will they dump the garbage? When we talk about things like that, it is not, obviously plastic waste is a big issue for us, but I also feel that why don't we have space these days? There is so much of deforestation going on. There's so much of population explosion in our country. So that is why I feel that it is a domino effect. And 1 + 1, if we do that 1 + 1, then only we can get to a point where we achieve that kind of environmental friendliness, be it in the Himalayas or any part, a land, any part of the country. So that is why I always think this way, that it should be a domino effect. It is not about just plastic waste. It is about all these factors related to it, for which we should have that awareness. We should spread that awareness among people.
so I'll give you two examples here.
Yes.
We did two similar exercises in two different areas of Solin, and here were the results. So one would be in our campus, which has 5,000 odd students who visit every week, every day.
Right.
I'm assuming half of them attend, so there will be 2,500 kids on the campus every day.
Right.
And that has, this one lane across the campus, which connects the entire campus, like the heartbeat of the campus. So there we have a lot of bins. We have a lot of awareness, like I was telling you. So it's an example of how you can keep a community clean. It's
Exactly
that, right? So that was one experiment, which is successful. It's been successful for the last 4 years. So everybody picks up their garbage. Nobody dumps anywhere.
Exactly.
While on the contrary, we did a similar 500 meters of the Mall Road in Himachal, in Solin. Again, this was cleaned up by the student volunteers, and bins were put up, and awareness was created. They did, I think, a week-long cleanliness drive on the mall. They created this beautiful, graffiti, so people don't spit and don't urinate. All of that was done. But unfortunately, and it's probably got to do with, again, the population. That's probably one, or the mix of people. So, one thought is that it's possibly having a community that helps.
Yeah.
Community awareness is probably a much better way to do it.
Right.
Because, the mall is just back to where it was. So I don't think, even creating awareness can only go up to that level. You need concerted efforts, like you're saying, from all parties concerned. So whether it's the government or whether it's you and I, whether it's tourists or a local. Unless everybody is aware and is making those efforts, it's pretty much impossible. And I know, I mean, it's not only for Himachal. I've lived in Delhi. I know the kind of garbage that's outside my daily house also.
Yeah. It comes from individual effort. People cannot spoon feed how you should clean your environment. That should come as a natural habit to people, is what I believe. I'll give you a simple example. There's a snack center right next to my house, and people, even though there are proper dustbins available, okay, but people will have snacks and throw that paper or whatever right next to the dustbin. Can't you see it? It is available there. Just throw it in the dustbin. How much effort does it take to put it inside the dustbin? You are throwing it right next to it. I mean, even if it was not available, you are throwing it some corner of the street. People can still be angry that buyer is throwing, but there is a dustbin available. Come on, that is common sense. So this is the kind of.
It's a little tricky to beat the age-old habits that people have.
Yeah.
So like I'm saying, it's very commonplace in the cities of Himachal to use the streams as a dumping yard. And while I say that, within my community, my neighborhood, it's been very difficult explaining my neighbor how important it is to not dump it there.
Yeah.
It's all levels. You have to play at the community level and at a very micro level as well.
I had been to Harishchandra is a very small hill here. It was just a trek. It's a medium level Sahyadri trek. Okay. So I remember that we were staying in a tent at night. So there were people who were using plastic bottles to wash their hands and things like that. Okay. So they just threw it right next to it. And we were also trekkers there. And we were not even part of the same group, but we were picking those up. We carried bags with us, garbage bags with us to keep all our garbage there so that once we are back, we can throw it. Okay. So we were picking those up and picking and keeping it in our plastic bags. So people were so surprised to see that, why are you doing that? They are littering, let them do that. But what is the point? We pointed it out. If they are not doing, someone has to do, right?
Yeah, well, so I'm sure you educated that lot to do it the next time they're traveling.
Yeah, definitely. I really hope so, that people do that. Keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Anthony, and a big
Thank
thanks to all the ex-presenters and to Nishtha for a very enriching and engrossing interactive session. And we will continue this discussion on Himalayas with our next speaker, Dr. Sonali Gupta, who is also based in Himachal. Jyotirmoy, would you like to give a small intro about our next speaker?
So Sonali runs this institute called the Himalayan Institute of Culture and Archaeology. I think it's in Shimla. I'm not exactly sure. But she's an archaeologist by training. She has worked in Egypt. She's worked in Borneo. And I think she's taught for a long time in UCLA. So last 2-3 years, she's been working on this project of hers with, basically Himachali local cultures and, music and other kind of stuff. So I came across her last year during the lockdown when, a lot of things opened out, a lot of people were talking about their work online. So we'll have her over, I think next week, is it? Or Vivek, whatever.
Yeah,
And
next week.
She will, what she has told us is she's going to take us through the Borneo. She's going to take us through Egypt, the archaeological digs. We'll, of course, get back to her. Maybe we can even now, with all this stuff coming up, maybe we can even get her views on Himachal and stuff on. So let's see. But I think it's billed as more of an archaeology and, personal journey as an archaeologist kind of thing. This is what I remember.
Thanks, Jyotirmoy. And thanks, Murugaraj, for the technical help. For attending the session. We will see you next week at 4 p.m. again. A big thanks to Nishtha and to all the participants and the ex-presenters. It was a great session. And we certainly will, finally we can see Dhruv also. So
I have become very camera shy because the whole day I'm in Zoom meetings. It's like I'm tired of seeing my face.
okay, but we are not tired. We love watching you, listening to you, reading your book.
Sir, you have got a very good work from home atmosphere. You are in the hills.
Oh, me? No longer.
Acha.
No longer.
Acha, I see.
I just went for a week in December, Jyotin.
Oh, I see. Because whenever we think of you, moment one thinks of you, and once we contact you, you are in the hills. Always.
Because I only write about the hills. I only write about the hills. I never write about Delhi.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, thanks everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.